Jesse Kelly here. I'm not a financial expert, but I do look for solid investment opportunities for investment growth and protection against loss. I do know that putting all your eggs in one basket is not a good financial plan. Securing your IRA or 401k with real gold and silver with Oxford Gold is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Or you can buy precious metals and keep them in your safe. One app, one call, and you pick your precious metals. Call 833-987-COIN. That's 833-987-COIN.
Hey guys, it's Kayla Ewell from Directionally Challenged, a podcast about realigning your internal compass. New KFC chicken nuggets are finally here, and you have never had nuggets like these. All of the delicious KFC flavor you love in one amazing chicken nugget. 100% white meat, hand-breaded in KFC's original recipe. Order new KFC fried chicken nuggets now, available at participating KFC near you. Guys, they're finger-licking good.
Me. We are barreling on into a huge side 2 of Daydream, the Mariah Carey Petrillion selling album, as we've already established. Petrillion is whatever it sold. This is Fab, that's Posh, this is me, I am a memoir, the meaning of Mariah Carey. But we're not reading the meaning of Mariah Carey. We are still listening to Daydream. So all we do in these episodes is break it on down.
I should confirm we still are reading the book outside.
We are reading
episodes.
the book. We're reading the book.
We've stopped reading
the next week.
We
next
forgot.
Episode.
I don't know. Suddenly I can't read.
We're just listening to the music now. We're getting we're immersing ourselves in the milieu of Mariah.
Oh, milieu Mariah Carey.
It's her French cousin.
She'll show up in a video, I'm sure. Bring me on down. All right, so we are on side 2, and we start with a little When I Saw You. Which my goodness, it was Mariah Carey and Snuffleupagus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listening to this again the other day, this is one that just comes on shuffle and I belt it out. It's always fun.
Yep.
But listening in order of the album and actually listening to the vinyl for the first time, because I saved it, darlings, for this episode. Oh my God, chills. It took me back to the back room of my childhood home. Mum with the headphones on.
You had a back room in your childhood home? That is confronting.
It had a divan, darling.
Well, most back rooms just have, like a sort of a divan thing and like a little pump bottle of lube and some tissues. But no, it's nice that you...
No, we had a
different kind of back room. My mistake.
God, so many things wrong with that image.
I'm the most inappropriate person who ever lived.
God. But yeah,
hoping to get cancelled at the end of this. Just personally,
if it hasn't happened already, it's not happening.
No, how have I not been cancelled?
I know that Kylie Minogue joke alone.
So many brown eyes in my career through unsuspecting people.
Okay, now, so it took me back to that, and I think this was the first song, of course, this is the first Mariah album I had, the first song I realised, oh my God, this is a lot of breath to sing this song. Like, it goes on, and I actually think it could be one of her hardest songs to sing, purely, not so much for notes, but for stamina. Yeah. Because unlike Without You, where it's holding one note for a very, very long time, this is holding notes and changing.
The modulation between low and high in this song is really hard work. Like, it's one of those songs where you go, oh, you are doing something more than just having a big old belt here, aren't you? Mm-hmm. You've gone, well, if I'm going to write the song, I'm going to write it so it really suits my voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I have to write another song with Snuffleupagus, I'm going to make sure it's fun to sing.
Well, I don't know that it would be fun to sing. I think this is quite a workout.
No,
like,
it is.
I know it's like bang in the middle of her range, but it's like...
But it is. It's the breath support to be able to
Yeah.
hit. It's not just sustaining one note. It's hitting several notes within the same breath and holding them. It's a lot. It's a lot.
And there is one of the all-time great key changes in this song, like during a note.
That's true. But no, look, for me, this is the beginning of a very good run of this album. I will just say that. And I'm giving it Poshfinity.
Poshfinity, yeah. This was one of my shower songs. Like this, for quite some time, usurped all I've ever wanted from my shower carousel. Even though it's an impossible song to sing, especially when you're in steamy water.
Because you've got because when you're in the steamy water, you're doing hair flicks and you're like up against the glass. It's a whole thing.
And trying to also clean yourself. It's like, I've bent over to clean my foot and now my diaphragm's all crushed.
I didn't realize that showers were cleaning. I just thought they were for concerts.
Yeah, little Posh concert. Posh's wet concert.
Even the ones that aren't in the shower are wet, darling. Don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I love, like, there are some bits of it that I'm not, that I had trouble with at the time. Like, I was like, why are you singing it like that? Like, why isn't it just belting all the time?
That's you with every Mariah song.
I like that with every Mariah song. But yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. It's seriously one of my favorites. It's so good when I saw you. And it's a great way, like, even though this was like a CD for me, like, because we're doing this as an album, like a vinyl album, it's a great way to open the second side. Like when you're like, oh yeah, I enjoyed I Am Free, I'll turn it over. It's, whoa, we're starting the album again.
Yeah.
We cranked it right up to 11. Woo!
So I take that's an infinity?
That's an infinity, yeah.
All right.
It's a shower affinity.
Shower affinity.
That's my highest praise, a song that I sing in the
It's
shower.
shower affinity.
Shower
All
affinity.
right.
This and All I've Ever Wanted. Until the End of Time. That was my other shower affinity.
Smashing to track 8, Long Ago, written by Mariah, Jamash, and Manuel Seal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say something pretty big here.
Go, say it.
I think this is possibly my favourite Mariah Carey song.
Of all time.
Of all
ever.
time. Look, it's hard when you've got songs like Vision of Love, like, that are just so powerful. But if not my favourite...
just come out of When I Saw
You. If not my favourite of all time, then my favourite album track, for sure. Although we do have some heavy competition with the song before and another one coming up.
Yeah.
I just find it then and now to be so chill. Like, it's so chill and kind of like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm not trying too hard here. I'm just a really cool song. I still sound fresh now. Like, I like everything she does with her voice in the song. What Poshfinity to the power of Poshfinity. What can I do? I don't know.
This is as with Always Be My Baby. This is her and Jermaine Dupri just falling into that groove and finding a space that I don't think she found with Clavillis and Cole.
Sure.
They tried to, find a groove together, but they were too kind of European housey, and she's too kind of hip hop, and this was the sound that she had always needed for her. Not that this is an upbeat song, but for her more.
But there is something driving about it.
Yeah, but when
It's
she's going to do kind of like a not ballad, let's call them not ballads. When she's doing a not ballad, it like this is a better sound for her than all of that synthesized drum beats and the craziness of the last couple of albums. This is exactly what she should be doing, and she continues to do through the rest of her career this kind of almost a dirty beat.
Yeah.
Like there's there's some great sampling in this. Like it's just I feel like this is the birth of the new Mariah in a way, I think in a more impressive way than even the Fantasy remix with ODB. This is the actual real true birth of the new Mariah. This is,
there is nothing like this before it. It's bonkers. I also love that I only realized this when I listened to the vinyl, and I had to go back and check the CD. The main beat, the do-dum, do-dum, it starts in one spot, but then when she's actually singing, it's actually one sort of millisecond delayed. Mm-hmm. It's not where you think it sits. Yeah. And I heard it in the record. I was like, oh my God, has that been pressed wrong? No. I was like, is something wrong with it? And I went back, I was like, oh no, it's always been like that. But it's like your ear puts it where you think it needs to go.
It's
just
slightly syncopated.
Yeah.
Really,
I'm like, oh, and I think that adds to the kind of mystery of it all.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Poshfinity to the power of Poshfinity. It's the highest score I've given so far.
I love the bass line is amazing. It's just it's like you can hear when she says in the book that they just had an easy, comfortable working relationship. You're like, oh yeah, I can hear that here. Yeah, I can hear that they're both driving each other to creativity in a way that probably they weren't able to do before on their own.
Yeah,
or with other people. Plonky piano.
Bling, plong, 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 plong. Be careful, they're returning shortly.
I know.
So what's your score for the longer game?
Look, I think I was about to give it Cusp of Infinity, but I think because it's such a landmark moment and it is the Mariah to come, I'm gonna have to tip over into the Infinity.
Tipping in.
Yeah.
Like I would have forced you anyway. I would have pushed you in.
No, you wouldn't have let me.
I just think, how we've talked about this before, and there is one coming up soon that is like a Mariah moment.
Yes.
I think this is my version of that. If someone says to me, "Are you a lamb?" I'll be like, "Long ago." I'm like, it's not even an expected one.
Yeah.
It's one you weren't expecting me to come out with, and it's my jam.
Yeah.
All right. Track 9, Melt Away, written by Mariah, and Babyface.
Babyface.
We've not had a Babyface yet, have we?
Yes. The last album we had, Never Forget You, was a Babyface.
Oh, that's right. I forgot it.
Yeah. The irony!
So this one for me as well has a bit of a special place in my heart because I think as a young person, I used to kind of jump between Long Ago and Melt Away. Long Ago was the not ballad and Melt Away was the ballad. As being, I feel like over time, Long Ago sort of took over, but
I think because it does have a timeless quality. Like
yes.
And at the time, it felt like, it was like, what is this sound? This is weird.
Yeah. It's
like,
not just
too
new
progressive.
for Mariah, it's new for someone else as well.
Yeah. But now it feels like, oh no, this is good.
Yeah.
This is possibly one of the best on the album. That, like, if you were going to take it completely out of context and go, would you know what year this song was sung? You'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, it could go on Emancipation or something.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yeah, cool. So Melt Away, I feel like it has sort of clawed its way back in recent times when I've re-listened. I think one of the reasons being, I mean, it is literally like Silk, but the deep vocal, like I don't think she's gone that low, darlings.
No.
Like she was like, I think it's probably the best use of her low range that I've heard. There may be more to come, I'm not sure. And also, listening to it loud, there is a casual whistle note at the end as it's fading out that she doesn't even highlight. It's like, oh yeah, it's there. I know it's there.
Well, that was also there was a pushback against the whistle notes. That I think I can't remember whether it was the record company or she decided she didn't like them anymore. Anyway, because there's a track on Rainbow that she took all the whistle notes out, and it might have been Pharrell produced it. I can't remember. Or Jimmy Jam. Anyway, the producer was like, "What are you doing? It's the best thing about the song. And put them all back in. But yeah, so yeah, I think the whistle notes are being kind of marginalized a bit, which is another reason I love all the remixes more than the album songs, because she's just
You want
like,
the squeals.
I'm going to squeal for a good 6 minutes. She'll sing the whole song in whistle register for an entire, like, one whole chorus, just for the fun of it. You're like,
because I do think, like, listening now that I'm thinking, I don't think there are many whistles, if any, aside from I think there's one at the end of Underneath the Stars, and then this one.
Yeah,
that might be
they're very pushed into the background now. Like it's
already faded out by the time.
And I remember there was like talk at the time of like, oh, she just can't do them live. She can't do them anymore. She's not, and it's like it was not that at all. I think someone like her, you can only be photographed from this side. You sound like a show off. Stop it. So it's like she's probably singing them all the time and then pulling them back out of the mix.
All right, so that's kind of my feelings on it. It does have a huge nostalgic quality for me. So what's your take on this?
Look,
song?
I've never been a huge fan.
Dead to me, get out.
Of her Babyface collaborations. Like they always feel like the Carole King. It always feels like it's neither of their best work. Okay. Like you go, Mariah's done some amazing work. Babyface has done some amazing work. Mariah and Babyface together, they just kind of... It feels like with the Carole King thing and Never Forget You, it just misses somewhere. Like, I love this song. I'm not saying it's a terrible song, but I feel like both of them are capable of so much more. So for me, this is a 4.5. I know.
Honestly. You prolo piece of shit.
Why am I prolo now?
How dare you? Well, so I actually didn't know until yesterday that this was a Babyface song, actually. So
I think the best Babyface collaboration is just when she name checks him and sings a little bit of
well, that was
two occasions.
That was to come. I think the thing that captured me as a kid was just the chorus of how it's silky.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's done that in this way before.
You know what I think
it's like dark chocolate.
I know we're trying to assess these albums on their own, but for me, so much of Daydream, like I love, but it feels like a bridge in between Music Box, which was my favorite album
and
of
Butterfly.
all time, and then Butterfly, which is just an amazing exemplary piece of work. So it feels like we are taking a run up. And I don't know, if Butterfly didn't exist, this would probably be the best Mariah Carey album of all time, and everything would be infinity. But I feel like this is one of those songs that is almost there. Like, it's really good.
It's almost,
but it's not the amazingness that I know she can do.
I mean, it's fine. Like you can be wrong. That's fine.
I can be wrong. I can absolutely be wrong.
No, I do find it interesting, and we'll get more to it, but the thing, I also kind of agree with it being a bit of a bridge album.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Next song, track 10, Forever, written by Mariah Carey and Snuffleupagus.
Yes.
This was released. It got to number 77 in Australia. Look out.
Look out.
Now, supposedly Mariah did not like this song very much, but I believe has recently slightly warmed to it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This smidge. Now, it does have that very 50s feel.
Yeah, that's Snuffleupagus. I'm going to run my finger up and down the piano a couple of times because I can.
So what's your take on this track?
So at the time, this was probably one of my favourite songs on the entire album. And Lord, doesn't she sing the fuck out of it?
Yeah.
Like, when she takes a run up at that fucking key change, it's like, no, I'm here, I'm ready, and like, you know, there are 18 syllables in Forever, and there's and it's amazing. Again, this is like a lot of the songs on Music Box. What I love about this is her vocal performance, and I appreciate the two preceding songs because they had some amazing production going on, but this is one where it's just like I'm just going to sing this song and the production's going to be very, very simple and I'm just going to belt the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And hit some really high notes. I mean, not quite whistle, but, you know, even for like her kind of soprano register is also quite amazing. Like her really high singing voice before she gets to whistles which she doesn't use that much, realistically. Like she kind of goes from a middle range to suddenly squealing. But you get a bit of her high voice in this, and which I really, really like. But yeah, I really like Forever. And I know that it's cloying, and I know that it's annoying, and I know that it's structurally a little bit shit. But I kind of like it. Like maybe I've gone through the same thing with it as Mariah. Like I went through a period where I was like, oh God, it just sounds like, you know, so many of her songs is fucking Snuffleupagus. It's like, I'm rewriting, you know, the same song for the fourth time. And then now, when I listened to this album again, I was like, oh man, she really does go for it. Like she sings this song.
She does. She sings it, darling.
Yeah.
Look, I do enjoy it. It probably sounded like I don't. I do enjoy it. I don't often return to it. I think possibly because of that cloying nature and the fact that really almost all of the songs leading up to it do have a slightly more mature approach and have a little bit more of a fresh feel still.
Yeah.
They don't feel overly dated.
This one felt dated when she
even then. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. And that's kind of the point. So it's not like, again, I feel like this is a song that would be on Cold Case. You know, like when they go back to the 50s, they're like, oh, it's the 50s, but it's also the 90s. Forever by Mariah Carey.
Also, contextually, we're talking about so the album in between this one and Music Box. I know it feels like there's one after the other, but there was an album in between. And it was Merry Christmas. And all of those songs felt very, you know, timeless, but, you know, timeless as in 50s, 60s. And so this one feels like it's right in the pocket of those kinds of compositions. So I feel like this kind of feels more like, oh, this could have been a Christmas song.
I think what you said before, again, about the bridging between the Music Box sound and the Butterfly sound. Yeah. It's the one that doesn't feel like it's an in-between. It feels like it could have been, like you said, Christmas or on Music Box or on Emotions or on... Maybe not on the debut.
It feels very classic Mariah and Afanasieff. Like it's very much their sound.
And I think it's very much him as well. Like you said, she's singing the crap out of it, but it definitely feels like a him song.
Like I feel like Underneath the Stars has more of a...
Oh God, no, I prefer this.
Has more of a Mariah feel to it because of the gentle vocals. It's not
possibly.
As... It's, you know, it's breathier. It's not as showboating. Whereas this one is like, I'm going to... Like, I can sing all these notes and I can sing them real loud.
Maybe this is the song that when... was it Slipping Away? Wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
She was like, well, I've written everything I want to say. Oh, well, just that Snuffleupagus song. Oh, yeah. Let's do that. We've got to deliver the album at midnight. Come on. Yeah. So for this one, it's still a respectable score. I gave this a 4.25 on the same level as I Am Free for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a 4.5. Okay. It's a decent song, like, and she sings it, but I think it's, again, there's so many better songs in this album.
All right, track 11. Daydream Interlude Fantasy Sweet Dub Mix by all the same people that wrote Fantasy. All right, hit me with it.
This is a short version of one of the 412 remixes by David Morales. And I absolutely adore this version. Because it's sort of, I feel like this is what those couple of songs, those Cole and Clavilli songs that had the electronic sort of elements to them that we didn't like from Music Box. This is, and also the Joy to the World version from the Christmas album. This is exactly what she should have been doing, is going, I've done some incredible stuff with David Morales for the last album in remixes. So I'm just going to throw a remix on here. And I absolutely love that it was given pride of place on the album. It's like, this is a remix. Like, it could have just never been part of the album.
Is it her first interlude?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it is.
But it's like the actual full version of this that you get on the CD single is incredible because it's like this for about 12 minutes. But yeah, I love this shit. Like, this is because it always felt like a little gift that, you know,
sure,
because so many artists would just go, yeah, just put some drum fills in for 6 minutes in between. And like just sample my voice going, do the low, and just do that for about 8 hours. But whereas Mariah's gone, no, I'll come in. Like, we should. I'll transpose the whole thing for you.
The studio is in my house.
Yeah, come over. We'll do it here. I'll have a splash, and we will remix the shit out of this. So this is, I love this because it's like, remember how much you loved Fantasy? Let's hear it again.
It's like Alanis Morissette putting You Ought to Know at both the beginning and the end of Jagged Little Pill.
Yes, why wouldn't you?
We'll add a guitar. So for this one, I'm intrigued by this now because of you sort of talking about the longer version. Because as a kid, this was confusing to me. I didn't understand. Why is this random song on here? It's the same song, but it's not. But she doesn't really sing anything new. I'm confused. And I think that's why I probably struggled to connect to it a little bit because there's not really a hook to it.
No.
And I kept waiting for the chorus, or, you know, and that never really showed up. So when I went back and listened to it again, I appreciate it more now knowing what I know. Mm-hmm. But I still can't quite grab onto it, if that makes sense. I think some of it is because, as you mentioned, the Clitorius and Cole songs of the 90s, that wasn't really a style that I loved anyway.
No.
I do agree that this is them starting to refine it and get it sounding.
Refine it, David.
Well, Mariah.
You know, David is no longer as evidenced in track 3.
But Alison still is, so you never know. But there were songs of that era that were just not a sound that I particularly connected with.
Yeah.
So I found it really hard to know where to put it because I was like, it is not bad. I do not dislike it. I think it's a palate cleanser.
Also, just the fact
the
that
final
it's like,
track.
It's like, oh, she's singing in a really different way. Like she's singing the same song, but she's kind of. It's got like a chanteuse vibe to it. It's got like almost a jazzy feel.
An elusive.
It gave me kind of echoes of The Wind from.
Oh, okay.
You know, just because it's like, oh yeah, I could just be sitting by a piano, even though this is all crazy electronic music going on around me. Like and I'm just singing like a jazzy version of the first song on the album, but. Yeah. We're just kicking back. It's 5 o'clock in the morning at a club.
And I think that's what I'm missing. I think it's the 5 a.m. at the club bit that I'm missing. So I'm wondering if a longer version, because I was literally 6. If I experienced the longer version and was in that kind of space, I probably would be like, oh my God, it's Mariah at a club.
This is the other thing. Like, you know, nowadays, you know, Mariah was talking about the instant grats that go on with releasing an album where it's like bits, like song. Whereas this was from the time of, so Fantasy came out and then we had ODB like a couple of weeks later. And then we had the Morales remixes. And so you lived with them for like a month before the album came out. It wasn't the album and the
even
single
longer,
on the same
probably.
day.
Probably
Like
longer.
it was, you had ages before the album came out. And so you had lived with this song, well, Crazy Lambs, like myself, had lived with this song, with the long version. So when it came up in the album, you're like, oh, yay, it's my friend.
Yes, sure.
It's like another single. I mean, it wasn't a single, it was a CD single.
And it would feel like an interlude to you guys because it was so much shorter than the main remix. Whereas anyone who doesn't know the main remix,
I mean, the interlude is on
on
the discs as well with the 14 other versions.
Sure.
Like they are long ass songs.
But because of all of this, so I'm curious now to hear the long version and maybe get a little drunk.
Well, there's
I can experience
there's 3 or 4
that.
versions you have to hear.
Okay.
I
found I almost didn't score it because I was like, I don't know how to score it.
I see,
and it's an interlude. And I didn't know how to score it. And I was like, it is not bad. I do not dislike it, but I also never go back to it. So I threw it in at a 3.5, but that's not. I don't do that to offend anyone. I just didn't know where else to put it.
It's an infinity. Shut up.
All right, melt away, hater.
I don't hate it. I just think it's
but
less
you'd like
than
it
the
if,
sum of its parts.
I bet you'd like it if a regular singer sang it.
Well, it would be the pinnacle of her career if she managed anything that good.
I really am looking forward to this new 6-part mini-series that I'll be forcing you to do after this.
I will actually do that when we get through this. I will do it. Maybe during Glitter, I can assault my ears with some of the terrible knockoffs.
In all honesty, I don't think I've ever listened to any of those albums in full. So it'd be interesting for me as well. And people would actually see I'm probably not as in there as they think.
Hey guys, it's Kayla Ewell from Directionally Challenged, a podcast about realigning your internal compass. New KFC chicken nuggets are finally here, and you have never had nuggets like these. All of the delicious KFC flavor you love in one amazing chicken nugget. 100% white meat, hand-breaded in KFC's original recipe. Order new KFC fried chicken nuggets now, available at participating KFC near you. Guys, they're finger-licking good.
Hey listener, if you own or work for a small business, Acast wants to unlock the power of podcasting for your brand with a Pod Power-Up. Pod Power-Up is giving small businesses in the US a chance to win a fully paid-for podcast advertising campaign on the Acast self-serve ad platform, worth over $10,000, including having your ad creative produced. To be in for a chance of winning, simply go to go.acast.com/powerup and tell us about your business and what you'd be promoting with a podcast ad campaign. That's go.acast.com/powerup. Good luck.
All right, now we get to the final track of the album. I think we might be here for a while. Looking In by Mariah Carey, by Kerry Washington, by Mariah Carey and Snuffleupagus. The first thing I wrote was darkest song so far? ?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to start this one off by saying I remember as a kid knowing that this was something else.
Yeah.
I didn't get it at the time. I just didn't have the capacity to get it. But I knew it was special to Mariah even without her ever having said it, if that makes sense.
You can
just listening to it, I was like, oh, this is something else. And it did always feel a little bit detached, which is why I think the interlude is there. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, Forever is a nice end to a 10-track album. P.S.
P.S.
Yeah.
Again, this is probably why I like Forever as much as I do, for the same reason that I love. Like I said, I don't think I would have loved All I've Ever Wanted if it didn't have Everything Fades Away after it.
Sure.
But yeah, I think if the album ended on Forever, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did for all those years.
Yeah.
Because there was the interlude, the Daydream interlude, and then there was Looking In, which is epic.
So one thing I thought of as I was re-listening was I was a little nervous to re-listen to it because I didn't know if it was going to, I suppose, meet my expectations of what I thought it was, which, don't worry, it did. But I was like, it's proof that Mariah really was telling us what was going on the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Because she'd always say, go back to this song, go back to that. It's there. Yeah. Now, the only, and this is really quite minor, but I'm curious to your thoughts on this. My only criticism of this song, which is really like a 0.0001% criticism, is that her vocal on the word inside at 1:43, so 1 minute 43 seconds, she sort of changes direction halfway through, and I find it quite jarring. And I'm wondering if it was actually a bit of an emotional blip.
Like her voice caught, maybe?
Maybe a little. It went a little in, because I hadn't noticed it until this sort of series of re-listens. There is a live version where she sings this song only once, and it's basically the part where she gets choked up and stops singing. So she actually didn't sing this line live. So it's she weighs in insecurity and hides herself inside of me. I think that's the part. And that's where, she dreams of all that she can never be. That's where she choked up live. I'm wondering if in the studio she did the same thing and just went, you know what, leave it. It doesn't sound bad. It's not bad. It was just me kind of going, oh, I've never been jarred by a choice before.
Yeah.
And I was like, was it a choice? If it's just a personal choice, that's fine. But it did make me wonder because of the spot it was in and how it's almost like she was going to go in one direction, then halfway through went, no, and went somewhere else. I was like, it's just interesting to me because I've never noticed that in any other song of a vocal of hers before.
That she's left something raw in, something kind of like, I mean, it does kind of, the rawness of her vocals throughout this song kind of is what I think gives it it makes you listen twice to the lyrics. Yeah. Like, I think if she was, delivering it in the way she delivers, say, Forever, you'd be like,
what?
You'd be like, oh yeah, that's a nice enough song. But because there is something kind of raw and almost raspy about her vocal on this whole song that it's almost like she's singing it in a way to make you pay attention to it, to make you go...
It feels like she's telling us a story.
Yeah.
Like literally telling us a story.
Like Marsha used to say on Australian Idol, you're a storyteller. You are a storyteller.
I didn't think she'd come back for this song, but all right. But no, I think that might actually be why I found this moment jarring, because it's maybe the one moment that I honestly feel so entranced by her telling the story and the way she's delivering it. And this is the one moment that I just kind of go, oh, what? And then we go back into it and everything's fine. Yeah. And that makes me wonder, was it a choice of her going, oh, I'm just going to do something different? Or more likely, it was a bit of an emotional bleep and she's like, well, it's still correct. It's not... Yeah.
And I mean, it could be one of those things like she may have, she would have done several takes and she may have gone, you know what, I think I prefer the raw one.
Yeah.
I think I prefer the one where I get a bit lost and I sound like the vulnerable girl I'm singing about.
Yeah. And that's why when I went and found the live version, she's quite emotional in it. Yeah. And I was curious to hear that line as to how she would deliver it. But then that's when she sort of broke down and didn't get that couple of lines out. So that could be the answer I'm looking for. Yeah. I did write down, how did Snuffleupagus not hear these lyrics and wonder what the fuck was going on? I'm going to read them to you because there was one in particular that really stood out for me. So it's from the final moments, which is, it seems as though I've always been somebody outside looking in. Well, here I am for all of them to bleed. But they can't take my heart from me and they can't bring me to my knees. They'll never know the real me. When I knew this song, I knew the story. And of course, reading the book is really highlighting a lot of it.
Yeah.
But while I'm here for all of them to bleed, what? I was like, hang on, like that is dark.
Think of him. He's forged a relationship with her on the back of Old Mate with his fucking photocopy. So in his mind, these lyrics are not about him. Yeah, they're about Ben Margulies. They're about,
other people.
Yeah. Maybe not Tommy, because that's her husband.
Yeah, she loves him.
She loves him, even though he attacked her with a butter knife. But these lyrics are about, the music industry in general. And we're talking about a guy who works with a lot of people. He's done a lot of work with a lot of other, I think he has a couple of songs on Celine Dion albums and stuff.
Even more reason that she doesn't know her.
But I think it's just that. Yeah, so he probably saw a lot of people poor meing their huge careers and went, I have to help write at least 3 of these songs a year.
Yeah, sure.
From poor bitches who think they're hard done by. So yeah, I think he easily would have heard these lyrics and gone, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. They're all a bit fragile, these singers.
Yeah. But yeah, that particular lyric just really stood out to me.
Yeah. I feel like this is the song that it feels like the entire Butterfly album is hiding in this song.
Sure.
Like,
I'm excited to get to it.
all of her more expository lyrics, all of her more deep emotional stuff. It's like, this is where it starts.
Yeah.
I remember hearing someone, I went for a singing lesson once, and the person who was before me finishing up was singing this, and I'm like, oh man, this is not a song I would think to cover. Because this does not sound like something that anyone else should be singing. It's like my weird thing of don't do other people's raps, because like
it's exactly
it feels so personal. Like,
I'm still gonna do the Lady Marmalade rap. I don't know what to tell you. Come through with the money and the
Mariah
bottom.
Patty! Mariah Patty! That's my marmalade rap.
It's stunning.
Mariah Patty!
You're bouncing between my ears, darling.
What you find now? What you
Stunning.
feel now?
Who was covering this? Oh my god.
It was Mariah and Patty.
No.
Carey.
No, looking in. We're back to
looking
the
in.
actual
I
song.
don't know. Someone having a singing lesson. Like, she looked very sad and sorry when she came out, and I'm like, it's not therapy, doll. It's a singing lesson.
I think the thing I found also about her delivery in the song is that it feels like she's right up against the microphone, and it feels like when you're listening to it, she's next to you. Like, it feels like she's just telling you, because it's quiet and it's not, she doesn't belt anything. And it, honestly, you can just imagine her by herself in that. In my head, the producer's gone home for the day.
Yep.
And she's like, I've got this idea and I'm just going to try it. And she walked in by herself and did it. So I actually held off on scoring this one until I listened a few times, because I didn't want to just go infinity out of obligation. I wanted to make
obligation?
sure. Well, because if I
love
did
this
it, I'd be murdered. Because it's such a song for Mariah.
Yeah, such a song. But also it's got that vibe of like, many of the songs on the Rarities album. Like, it's got, like, it feels like it could have been cut from this album. Easily. It could have easily been left off and we heard it on a B-side. Like, because it is so asynchronous to everything else that's going on. And it, like, like Do You Think of Me and Slipping Away and all of those other songs that just don't quite feel like they fit on the album. And this one almost doesn't. Same with like Till the End of Time at the end of the Emotions album. You're like, where does this come from?
Yeah.
And everything fades away. It's like, where does this come from? Like, where do these songs, like...
They're really great songs.
They're great songs, but they don't sound like they're from this album.
Yeah.
But then I guess
like,
each one is leading up to another album. So...
Yeah, it feels like a closed chapter.
Yeah. But
do you know the My December album by Kelly Clarkson?
No. Oh, is that her first album?
No, it's her third album. So it's the one that Clive Davis got all mad because she wanted to do her own thing, basically. Yeah. And it's kind of known as the
is it the one with Sober on it? Or whatever it's called? Yes, I do know that.
So the final song's called Irvine, and it's just named after a place. And I think that's her looking in, if that makes sense. It is the saddest song I think I've ever heard. I'm like, oh my God, how did they put this on? I'm glad they did, obviously. But after an album that was already pretty full on lyrically, to get to that last song and be like, oh, now I'm suicidal on the floor. That's literally like, and I'm not saying that's what the song, it is her laying on the floor, talking to God, wanting to die. It was like, oh, we've already gone through a bit of a gauntlet, and great, now we're actually going to die. Yeah. So it's pretty fun. Anyway, that's just what I thought of when you were talking about songs at the end that almost go, is this meant to, did she know that this is on this album? Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to hold off on infinitizing it until I listened to the vinyl in the car and the CD because I just wanted to make sure I was doing it authentically, not just because I felt that I had to.
Also,
and
because we were in the middle of the book, and this is very, very salient.
Yeah. But of course, I went there. It's Poshfinity, darlings.
Yeah, you can't in Uninfinity looking in. It's impossible.
All right.
It's just has to happen.
A pretty stunning way to close an album as well. Like,
oh yeah,
you feel, the book is closed.
Yeah.
That's how this song feels.
And it does give this album, like, it gives it more kind of depth than I think the previous albums, because there's like, we're starting to get that real sense of, oh right.
Yeah. And yeah, I do. Do you think it's the darkest song we've had
so far? I mean, on an album that has One Sweet Day, it's a big call.
Yeah. But see, One Sweet Day feels uplifting.
Yeah, it feels like the celebration of someone's life, as opposed to a song about actual trauma. And this feels like a song about trauma. Yeah, it is pretty dark, and it is pretty difficult. And it's also like, so this was the start of I was having issues in my own life, and so Mariah was often an escape for me. So the idea of her also not coping was difficult for me.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh no, I look to you as someone stable and sturdy.
Sure.
Like, even though, she's barely 6 months older than me. So I'm 12 and a half. But yeah, I always saw her as someone, so with such a clear vision and such an obvious, drive. And yeah, so hearing a song where things weren't okay is slightly destabilizing.
Yeah.
As much as I loved it, like, I absolutely love this song, but this is not a song you sing in the shower.
No, unless you're real sad.
But yeah, I love it, but it's one of those ones you have to, you don't go back to all the time.
Well, I understand. I think I've mentioned this before, so I won't go right into the whole story. But for me, Kylie was always an escape and a source of joy. So when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, quite aggressively, I couldn't listen to her music.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is meant to be a happy escape. And that's the kind of the whole point of Kylie is joy. And the fact that she's going through hell, I just can't, my little head doesn't get it.
The thing that I found, I mean, this is one of the reasons I used to do jokes about her and her illness when I was doing stand-up, and no one really kind of got that. They thought I was just making fun of her. But I was trying to make fun of this situation, like, why there's 6 pages of it in the newspaper? Like, it's someone's, like, she's announced that it's happened because she's had to cancel things.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, please, I don't want anyone else to go through this. Make sure everything's fine. Like, that's as much as you want. Like, I don't think would have been happy with people trying to sneak in and take photos of her in the hospital.
God, no.
She would not have
been...
Well,
Danny was chased through an airport.
Yeah, she would not have wanted to see, 6 pages. The first 6 pages in the newspaper were all about it. And I was like, what is going on? This is someone's health problems. Like, this is, like, I was going to, like, I got my vaccination today, and I was going to do a full...
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was going to do a full, Mariah Bad Lighting medical narrative. But there are heaps of people in there, because, I don't have my own hospital wing.
Why don't you? Gosh.
I just thought, if I video this, I am breaching about 17 people's medical privacy.
Well, that's true.
So I just went... I'll take a photo of my sandwich.
It was delicious.
Or as I call it, my vac snack. But I just think, some things are not meant to be the news.
And I found for fans, It actually was, and like you said, for her, of course, but it was re-traumatizing every time because all we wanted was to see an image or something where she was smiling or, where you could see things looking up because there were dark days that she has mentioned.
And she's not she doesn't sing sad songs.
No. So yes, it was very...
Whereas Mariah sings a lot of really sad songs. And on an album that has One Sweet Day, for this song to be on there makes you go, whoa, there is some power in the writing and performance of this.
And I think that is kind of the contrast, isn't it? One Sweet Day is... It's not that it's overproduced, but it's produced.
Yeah.
It's layered and it's got the big sweeping moments.
And there are
this is
five
the opposite of that. Yeah. And this is the exact opposite of it.
Yeah, this is small and intimate and quiet and, as you say, very dark.
Yeah.
Like, if One Sweet Day had a colour, it would be like the colour of sunset. Whereas this is a black velvet curtain just sucking all the light in.
Yeah.
Like it is, yeah.
I don't even know if it's velvet. It's cotton, darling. It's like it is bare bones.
But like that black that seems to draw light out of things. Like, I mean, that was one of the things I loved about the album artwork is that it was all stark black and white. And I was like, oh, where's all the fun, I want some fun Mariah.
Well, what I find so funny, I didn't realize, it's literally, I don't know if you can see, it's the back cover picture. Cropped.
Yeah.
And the back cover seems so light because there's so much white space around her.
Yeah.
And then just zooming in just enough, it suddenly takes on this completely different look. And I never knew that they were the same photo.
I know.
You could tell it's the same shoot, but I was like, oh, it's because you don't see her hands. Yeah, you don't see her hands in her hair or anything. It's like, oh, hang on. So I always found that interesting. But you're right, like the very stark black and white. Although Music Box was black and white too, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was like just her whole face, and it's bright.
True. Yeah,
spraying a lot of powder, and just like she's reflecting a lot of light. Whereas this, like the cover is dark, and this song is dark, and it just feels like a really kind of nice, deliciously bleak ending. I kind of love
bleak, darling.
I love bleak, darling.
So overall thoughts. This is where I'll bring up the bridge thing. So I'll read what I wrote. I was worried it wasn't going to live up to my memories.
Yeah.
I was like, is it going to? But if anything, a lot of the songs like Underneath the Stars or Forever or I Am Free that I didn't really revisit, I did kind of go, oh, you know what? I don't mind these. Like, Underneath the Stars still isn't my favorite, but I do like it more than maybe some of the songs on Emotions.
Yeah.
I know there's not as many huge Mariah vocals, but it's the DNA is still there.
Yeah. There's not enough squealing, I think.
There's not a lot of squealing, but what I found interesting is that the production feels elevated. I don't feel as many... no, I don't like to use the word dated with Mariah because I really don't think there's that many songs that have dated.
No.
But it's the Snuffleupagus and the Clavelius and Cole that sometimes the production does date a little. And I don't really find that so much on here. Even Forever was a throwback even then. So you kind of go, well, it's kind of on purpose. And I do think that the variety on the album is more in line with the debut album.
Yeah,
where
definitely.
She plays a lot more. So you don't sort of feel bogged down by 100 ballads in a row.
Yeah.
The bridging thing you talked about, I actually think the same thing, but almost from a different perspective, in that I kind of like that it's the best of pre and post.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's got everything that's kind of to come. Mm-hmm. And of course, within some of that being the remixes, with ODB and such. But it still has enough of the older to make, a song like When I Saw You is going to make old Mariah fans happy. So I actually think that's a really good thing. I really like that. And without this, you wouldn't have what was to come. So in a way, it's almost like a best of Mariah. I do agree. A couple of, Whack On Vision of Love. and get the squeals in there, and it's pretty much everything you want from a Mariah album. So I will say, even taking out the sentiment, my nostalgia for it, I genuinely think it's probably her strongest thus far. I don't know what's to come, so I could be taking this back, but of the first 4 or 5, it sort of strikes the right balance of all Mariah for me.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think it is her most confident album at this point. And it is weird to think of someone who has, whose first album was gigantically successful and has just come on the back of not only a hugely successful album of original songs, but also her crazy Christmas album that is still selling in the millions.
Crazy.
So yeah, like the fact that she's managed to take creative leaps from there. I think the best thing about this album is finding Jermaine Dupri and finding that working relationship that they have. It just, it kind of unlocks a lot of things for her, I think, creatively. And, like the P. Diddy business, the Babyface business, the Snuffleupagus business. Like, I think it's peak 90s Mariah.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that a lot of the greatest songs on this album are not the singles.
Yeah.
Which is some other albums you couldn't say that. You would say, Vision of Love and songs like, Hero and Anytime You Need a Friend and Emotions. They are. So, that doesn't mean there's not 1 or 2 others that are really good. But I'd almost argue that there are more album tracks that are better on this than the singles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. The fact that you've got Long Ago as a counterpoint to Always Be My Baby, you just go, oh wow, that was the same 2 people worked on that. Like, they created those 2
and
songs.
I will say Jamash did say Always Be My Baby felt more like something he would have done for Escape. And so he didn't feel any hip hop in that, even though that's what he expected. Yeah. Having had conversations with Mariah, whereas I think that stuff was coming way more into Long Ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's, it's a great, great album, and it still sounds amazing. And it's weird that, like, I didn't have as much fondness for it listening to it now as I did with listening to Music Box. But then I think I've listened to this a lot more.
Oh, okay.
In the last few years.
Consistently? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those albums that I put on because I'm like, I want to hear Looking In, and I want to hear When I Saw You, and I want to hear, I want to hear those album tracks. Whereas,
there's not as many skips, maybe?
Yeah, well, there's, the only album track I ever want to hear from Music Box is All I've Ever Wanted. I can happily skip the rest. Even though I absolutely love
it's
that
your
album.
favourite. You've said it's your favourite.
Yeah, even though I absolutely love that album. Like, but it's in that thing, that things that were your favourite once upon a time, you probably listen to too much. And I think just, like, seeing what's happened with Mariah since this album, it's like, oh wow, this feels like, it felt amazing at the time, but now in hindsight, you're like, there is so much better to come. Like, I feel like this is a step up from what she's done, but it is not the step she's about to take. If that makes sense. Yeah. So
I don't think I've listened to Butterfly from beginning to end in that. I think it's just been random songs at random times. So I'm curious.
In for a treat.
All right, let's hit it up. What is your favourite track from this album?
I think it's When I Saw You.
That's a good one. I can get on board with that.
I think it's my shower song.
I think mine is Long Ago, but I did write in brackets Melt Away and When I Saw You were just there scratching.
You've got your triple DP.
Triple DP! Yes, I forgot to mention that. That is the triple DP of this album. When I Saw You, Long Ago, and Melt Away. I mean, honestly. They are the 3 songs I would save from this album. I mean, Looking In's great too. Oh, God, it's hard.
Looking In is amazing.
And least favourite?
Least favourite... I'm probably going to break your heart, but I think it's going to be Melt
You
Away.
evil bitch. Take back the vaccination.
But I think it's just, like, it's not a bad song. It's just, you know, if I, like, you lay them all out in front of you and I go, yeah, no, that's the only one that feels like it's, like, if I had to sacrifice one.
That's so rude.
Can I choose the silence between side 1 and side 2 while I'm turning?
Sure, yes, that's better. Well, you know what? Look, mine's not popular either because everyone probably already knows it. It's Underneath the Stars. I will say it's grown on me, but yeah,
that's beautiful. That's
not for me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you know? You don't like Melt Away. I mean, come on.
I don't not like it. It's just you made me choose one. That was the one I chose. I couldn't choose. Like, I can't choose Fantasy. Clearly, I can't choose Underneath the Stars because I actually do quite like it. I can't choose One Sweet Day
because people will murder you.
Yeah,
and then the song will be about you.
Like, what am I left with? Like, what am I left with? Forever, I actually quite like. Maybe I Am Free, but
it's hard. They're all good.
Yeah, no, it has to be Melt Away. It's the Babyface one.
That's it. I'm cancelling this podcast. No, it's all right. Look, you agreed with me on the other 2 of the Triple DP, so your love of long ago has helped keep you here. And overall score,
Infinity. In fantasy.
I mean, it's the first time I'm doing this for an album. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's Posh Fantasy.
Poshfinity.
Even with Underneath the Stars, I
really
cannot deny. No, you know, look, I really, really didn't like it. Now, I don't actually mind it. It's suddenly not my least favorite. But it's the one I'd not save. Yeah. I'd be like hugging Melt. Like when you pushed Melt Away off the boat, I'd go rescue it and hold it close as I kicked Underneath the Stars into the icy cold ocean.
I'm not kicking it off the boat. You made Sophie make a choice, and she made it.
At the end of the podcast, baby. Almost there, almost home. You could probably say, but you won't because of copyright. All right, so good thing that we made this 2 episodes because we just talked for an hour about side 2.
Hours.
But that was lovely. It was very nice to revisit this album as a full album, not just random songs that come on shuffle. So next Mariah Monday, we will have a chapter, which is Just Like Honey.
Ooh.
Just a single P, as we've discussed. Because we've just had a Triple DP followed by a 2-parter, which also had a Triple DP within it. So we're raw.
Yeah. Goodbye, Lamely.
Hey guys, it's Kayla Ewell from Directionally Challenged, a podcast about realigning your internal compass. New KFC chicken nuggets are finally here, and you have never had nuggets like these. All of the delicious KFC flavor you love in one amazing chicken nugget. 100% white meat, hand-breaded in KFC's original recipe. Order new Kentucky Fried Chicken nuggets now available at participating KFC near you. Guys, they're finger-licking good.
Hey listener, if you own or work for a small business, Acast wants to unlock the power of podcasting for your brand with a Pod Power-Up. Pod Power-Up is giving small businesses in the US a chance to win a fully paid-for podcast advertising campaign on the Acast self-serve ad platform, worth over $10,000, including having your ad creative produced. To be in for a chance of winning, simply go to go.acast.com/powerup and tell us about your business and what you'd be promoting with a podcast ad campaign. That's go.acast.com/powerup. Good luck.